Hello everyone, Dominic here, back with another special guest interview, weekly interview. We've been doing these for each weekend. Today I'm joined by the founder of the UKEL and League Ops person for UKLC and Ops Director for the UKEL. It's Alex Winton, aka Synygy. How you doing, Synygy?
I'm doing great. It's been well, besides lockdown, as things are, it's been good though. It's been very productive. Yeah, it's just so much work going on actually, which I wouldn't have thought I'd be where I am at the kind of now last year or even the years before. So no, it's all going really well, thank you.
Good, yeah. And I hope, was that correct, right? You're Ops Director for UKEL and
Yes, that's
founder,
correct.
but also do League Ops for the slightly higher
Yeah,
tier
yeah.
UKLC.
I think officially my title's like head league ops, but I'm the only person on the team for that really. So I'm managing myself, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I work with a couple of people there as well who also do like the NLC stuff. So we do a lot of work together as well.
And you've said, you're busy. You must be busy because going from what you were doing before as a player and other bits and pieces to now actually like managing a whole tournament and dealing with everyone, that must be quite a challenge. Tell us a bit about the journey and what you do at UKEL now.
Well, journey starts many many years ago now. I guess maybe to start with just how I got into esports. I mean, I've always been a big gamer. God, I think my dad introduced me to Age of Empires, like the very first one back in like must have been 2001, maybe even earlier. I don't remember. It's a long time ago now.
Yeah.
Then I think the first kind of I got into like Call of Duty and stuff like that. Always had a kind of knack for being competitive. I'm a very competitive person. Also on the side at school, I got into playing hockey. Played
cool.
that a lot. Got to sort of playing Midlands regional level, which is about a tier below kind of national selection. So I thought I was pretty good at it, but that was a lot of my life during school, and any other free time was video games. Mainly World of Warcraft, to be honest. I played that game non-stop for about 6 years. Dread to think the amount of hours I probably put into that game. But that's where I got my kind of interest in like managing and stuff, which I then moved away from. I set up my own guild. I was an officer in many guilds. I love raid leading, stuff like that. And it really got me into that drive of I love organizing people. So from then on, I just found myself any opportunity to organize something, that was me. I was the one in there trying to set something up, whether it be like a trip to Insomnia with my friends. I'd be like, right, we need to get this, we need to do that. I'll pick you up here. I love that. I don't know why. Quite sad, really, but yeah.
But when you were doing that stuff,
on.
the organising, that you weren't in an org as such. You weren't like an org manager as such, were you? You were a player back in the day.
Oh yeah, of course. So I got, and then also I just say I got into league during sixth form at school. Went away, it was like gold or something at the time.
Right.
Went to uni. Met a great group of my friends who I still keep in touch with, pretty much all of them now, from pretty much week one of being at uni.
Yeah.
And we founded the kind of University of Birmingham league team. We did pretty well in the NUEL back in the day. Founded a league. I founded the league society as well at our university.
Right. Cool.
Which is still going to this day, which is nice to see. And yeah, really got that drive for competitive from playing in the NUEL. Started going to Insomnia as a player. And this is all really just kind of free time. I didn't see it as I was ever going to have a career as a player, but I just loved playing and competing like that.
What level were you at that point?
What
was your peak?
In solo queue? I peaked at around it was high diamond 2, diamond 1 sort of level.
Cool.
Never actually quite made it into diamond 1. I think it was 97 LP diamond 2. I got to one game off my promos, and then I lost and tilted, and I think I ended up in D5 again. Yeah. But no, yeah. So I think about D2. Played on a few UK teams. Qualified for ESL UK Prem with one of them. Pretty much by 2017 or so, I'd given up playing, at least at that level, because I just realised I wasn't really good enough. Actually, my worst trait was just my the kind of mental attitude. I was the biggest tilter you'll ever meet, and a bad game could send me sideways for like a whole day or two afterwards. And so I just wasn't cut out to be a player, honestly. It was never going to work. Was never going to be the next LEC superstar sort of thing.
But that's good experience, and it got you to where you are today. And just before we jump into Birmingham stuff, like you mentioned hockey, that's quite a competitive sport, isn't it? Because my wife used to play that, I think, when she was at uni, and they really they hack at your legs and stuff, don't they?
The amount of injuries I've had from playing hockey. Everyone thinks it's kind of everyone thinks as rugby as the big contact sport, it's dangerous. Some of the injuries I've seen in hockey, they're brutal. I mean, I had my eyebrow split open playing hockey because you can actually maybe see it. There's a little line.
How did that happen? Someone swung and it's gone up high and hit you.
So it was my own player. I was a midfielder, and my defender, we had like a kind of like a free kick from the back. Basically, I'll put it in football terms so it's easy. And he smashed the ball to try and hit it forward, and a player on the other team tried to stop it, and they put their stick on the floor. The ball hit the stick, went up like that, and he was about 5 meters in front of me, so just pinged me straight in the face.
Oh, God.
One trip to the hospital later, had it glued back shut, and I had a black eye for a week, which was just fun.
Oh goodness!
But yeah, it's quite an aggressive sport sometimes, especially when I came to uni and played as well. When you play against other students and they're all quite rowdy, it's not very. It can definitely get very dangerous. Is probably the best way to put it.
Yeah. And I've got to say, my early days of... So when did you first... When you were doing this Insomnia stuff, when was this first? Was it like 2014, 2015 when you set up your
earlier
society?
than that, actually.
Oh, right.
Sorry, the society. Yeah. My first Insomnia I went to was I-49, which was summer 2013.
Yeah.
Just went with a group of mates from school. Then went to uni. We went... Must have been I-51 was the first one we went to as a group of uni mates. And then we founded our society... in summer 2014 was when we founded the society. I chaired that for two or 3 years, I think. My uni history is a very long story, actually, because I've spent far more time there than I cared to admit. But then I did some stuff like social secretary work on the side. 2014 was when we founded that, and still going strong, fortunately.
And when I first got to know you was probably early 2016. So it was about 5 years ago this week. I wrote a post about an incident where you got to the final of the NUL, right? League of Legends. Yeah. And it was...
I wasn't even playing, that's the worst bit. That's the worst part about this story. So
your University of Birmingham, and then it was Aston University, or Aston Aunties. Yes. And of course there's a rivalry, just like in football.
Varsity rivalry, yeah.
Yeah, and there was, I think, their player, their ADC... was spamming the mastery emote over and over and over again, and it was tilting, and then they weren't, they said some things in Twitch chat which were a little bit over the line, like, I can't remember exactly what it was, but then you guys hit back and it all got a bit heated, and I did an article on it, that young me thinking this was big news in like UK League of Legends and stuff, and
two uni players having a scrap.
That's all it was, wasn't it? But when do you look back on that and smile, kind of thing? Because, but you were still part of something. For me, my thinking was, well, it's interesting that there's this varsity, and also the topic of, like, I think Mastery Emote was quite new to League of Legends.
It was,
yeah.
So, there wasn't. You couldn't mute stuff like that at the time. I think it was all super new.
So now I would have done an opinion piece on this new Mastery Emote. How's it going to change esports, right, and make it more of an opinion? Whereas back then I did more of a tabloidy thing.
Yeah.
But it was an interesting thing that how that responded, like, how some people can use that mastery emote over and over again. Now in the LEC we see it almost jokey, when someone does a failed
it's so
flash
normalised
and
now, and it's completely fine now. I think back then I look at myself and I wasn't going through the best time of my life. I was like a highly emotional kind of person. So things that shouldn't have been an issue. I look back at it shouldn't have been an issue. It was silly. First, I'm a really competitive person. I hate losing. And even though I wasn't playing, I didn't like watching my team lose. Someone was kind of talking... can I swear on this? Is that okay?
Go on.
Someone was talking shit. And just being really arrogant about it. And that all those things thrown into a melting pot, I lost it, which I look back at now, think is absolutely hilarious. But at the time I was fuming, and then probably a few months, even like a year later, I was like, why did I say that? Like, I was kind of cringing at myself, just like, why would I do that? But it taught me a lot, and I've learned a lot since then. I've grown up an awful lot. I mean, immaturity is one of the other driving factors behind that. I mean, I must have been 20 at the time, maybe.
This is the thing. People forget, like, esports the players are young. Even, at the top level, like, people are young. They've still got a lot of learning to do. If League of Legends was a thing when I was younger, and I might have been a better player than I am now, I'm sure I would have gone through silly things as well. I used to take things personally a lot, take things to heart.
Oh, yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
That's me.
So, yeah, you know, and everyone's different. But yeah, I'm glad we can look back and smile on it now. But since then, you've done a lot. You've been in teams. When you mentioned ESL Prem, was that Perilous you were with? Or
I was with Perilous. It wasn't that team that qualified.
Okay.
Our team, we wouldn't get this now actually, because, well, for a start, UKL wouldn't allow it. We were just a group of like 5 kind of randoms. We didn't even have an organisation. We signed up as the team Batman Begins.
I did an article on that. Yeah.
Oh, who was on it? Me, one of my best friend Rory, who's Nick's, played at the University of Birmingham with. AD carry was called Batman. That's how we got our name. Mate, we drew a logo in paint for it. You know, highly professional stuff. This.
Yeah.
I can't remember the other players now.
Well, who was that chap on the Birmingham team? It might have been him. He made it to the front page of Reddit. He did an amazing pentakill.
Oh, that was my AD. That was that's Blue Bear. That's my friend Matt, who I'm still really good friends with.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and in that clip, there's me screaming in the background, just like, "Go on, go on." Yeah, it's all coming together now.
So you're part of that real UK League of Legends history, and now, you know, you've sort of permanently etched yourself into that with the UK Esports League. I thought it was great when you launched this. It was 2 years ago, was it now?
Summer 2019 was the first split. So I started working on it probably late April, May sort of time. It would have been just after spring 2019, because that's when we finished with Darkspawn. Yeah. And we got relegated from the UKLC.
So were you with Darkspawn? Because bit of context for people watching this, you set up the UK Esports League with Mark Omni, right?
Yes,
Mark Busby, aka Omni. So what were you on a team? Were you on Darkspawn before you set up UKEL? With
it's worth. God, I might need to rewind a little bit for some context. Yeah. That actually go back to that Batman Beginners team briefly. We qualified with them. We then got picked up by Bulldog Esports. So I met. God, I've got his name now. Newts. I met Newts through that. Yeah. We worked together for a bit, and then I quit kind of playing and doing stuff, so left there. Yeah. Then went on to be a manager at Wind and Rain in the UKLC.
Oh, yeah,
I think we finished 4th or 5th that season. We had a bit of wasn't my best split managing. I was very new and I was pretty terrible actually looking back on it. Then came to about just before, it was December 2018, and my good friend Chin, Thomas Davis, used to work with Diabolus and stuff. He introduced me to Mark, because Mark had been looking for a manager for his team that had just been accepted into the UKLC, because I think it was just when LVP picked it up. Yeah. I got in a call with Mark, sit down, had a chat with him. We just kind of clicked from the start. So we built that team. Competed all through the spring. Obviously didn't have a great split, but I look at where a lot of those players are now. PFI, Beely, Akkers, they're all UKLC, and well, even 2 of them, PFI and Beely, are now going on to Telia. So that's how I met Mark. Obviously we got relegated, and we were thinking about putting a team in for kind of the next, we weren't going to be in summer but spring, but also it was obviously quite a way off. And I'd had this idea about having a second division for a very, very long time, because I feel like it's something that the scene needed. So I pitched the idea to him and said, well, I think he was umming and ahhing about shutting down Darkspawn anyway. He was kind of on the fence. And I said, well, what do you think about this idea? He loved it. And it was kind of just from there, it's kind of grown and grown and grown.
Yeah, it's done really well. And it's interesting as well, last year, how it got added, because it was always an unofficial division.
Yes, from the start, it was just kind of, we call it a community tournament really, but the idea was to help people grow and have a place to show off, even if they weren't quite the best players in the UK, because that's something I always felt was missing. Yeah. If we're back when like ESL Prem was a thing, you had your top 8 teams. What was after that? If you were, imagine you're the best player that's not in UK ESL Prem, you don't get seen. There's nothing for you there. And I mean, obviously, of course, you could make that argument that the people just below the UKL don't get that opportunity. But I think between like university leagues, things like Belong, obviously during COVID, that's pretty hard.
I think they did something at some point, ESL. They did a lower tier league, but it wasn't well, I don't know, publicised, and it might have just been an online thing. And I don't know.
I think they had some online bits and pieces. I mean, obviously they used to run go for lols, didn't they?
Yeah.
Back in the day. But that was kind of a European thing. They'd have open tournaments and like open qualifiers for ESL, but the reality was you'd just get a team of kind of 5 master or challenger friends just show up and just destroy everyone in the qualifiers. So it was basically impossible to ever really qualify.
And you've set up the UKEL, and then did Riot approach you, or you approach them? Because now the winners of the UKEL, as we've just will go through to the UKLC, and so it's part of that tiered structure. It's not run by Riot, right? But it's connected to it.
Make it very clear. We hold a license from Riot. We're actually, I think, technically part under the DreamHack license as well. So we're kind of all in that together. But no, it's not a Riot official tournament by any means, and I'll make that clear just so that they don't come back to me later and be like, "What have you said on this interview?" But no, we just hold a license from them, which means it nets us a certain amount of support from them. It's quite minimal the level we have. We're on the very basic one. We approached them in being like, how do we go about getting a license? We've been doing this for 2 splits now. These are the numbers we're getting. This is what's happening. I don't fully know what went on behind the scenes, kind of at their offices, but I think they must have spoken to DreamHack about it. Because obviously, if we directly below the UKLC, they don't need to run open tournaments anymore. It's just a direct feeder. There's only just the promotion tournament needs to happen, which is much simpler than running a 32-team bracket over the course of a few days or whatever. Yeah, it was really bizarre. We just had an email back from them, and it just said, "How would you like to do this?" And we were just like, "Well, of course, is exactly what we'd hoped for." And when we first set it up, it was a pipe dream a year before that, but suddenly, we're part of the circuit now. And in fact, most people start their journeys with us if they're new to the scene.
Yeah, 100%. I think you've done really well because, over the years, especially when you get to the lower amateur level of esports, you get a lot more challenges, difficulties, contract disputes, drama that you don't see as much in teams in NLC or LEC and above, because it's all become a bit more professionalised now. So you've had to deal with a lot of challenges, I'm sure. But like you alluded to earlier, Alex, now you can't just have you can't just have 5 players get in. You have to be a limited company. There are rules and things. I know when LVP came in a few years ago, they've made some changes here and put some stricter rules in. So, but you've dealt with, I think, or minimised any drama. You've done that very well, very professionally. There was some of the Hyve players that were previously banned in the SQ1 league for toxic comments, but you arranged that. Like, they came into the UKL, but you dealt with it. Like, how have you managed to deal with some of those things? Is it because of those strict rules or requirements, or from your experiences as well, I guess?
I mean, I'd actually honestly attribute most of it to my experiences, because in a lot of these situations, I can always see. I'm a pretty patient person, and I'm very good at understanding both sides of a story, or at least trying to get how to put this best. Like, understand both sides. Why is this person upset at this person?
Yeah. And
conversely, why has this person said what they have? Yeah. Sometimes there's not really an explanation to be found, but I'm generally quite good at that. I probably should thank my parents for that. They always taught me very well, when I was a kid, to try and be understanding of people. So I've just tried to employ that where possible. But also, I remember when I was 18, 19, kind of a little angsty teenager, trying to make a name for myself. And sometimes you think that's the best way to, maybe not even consciously, but you want to get attention from people that you respect. Sometimes people go about that in the wrong way, or sometimes people just have an emotional reaction to something, say something really stupid. In using the Hyve player as an example, obviously I'm not condoning what they said in the slightest. And that maybe went beyond the boundaries of, it's just something silly, because absolutely it was, should never have been said in the first place. But I'd just say it really comes down to being pretty patient with people. If someone's saying something to me and I'm getting wound up now, I'd take 5 minutes away and just think about, let them be, come back to my desk, then I'll respond to them, sort of thing. Yeah. Rather than just immediately going to my keyboard and typing, because that's what I used to be like, and it got me in so many bad situations.
Yeah, same. I think there's some similarities with us there as well. I think as a journalist, I always try and be balanced and see someone's viewpoint, even if I don't personally agree with it.
Yeah.
And take 5 minutes away, go for a walk, and then think about it, and come back with a clearer head, because I'm not very good at reacting emotionally on a keyboard at all. So I stop myself from doing that now. So yeah, that's interesting. And on Hyve as well. So they've recently announced the org are ending esports operations, and
Yes.
I've had my DMs have been quite busy of people saying, Dom, what do you know about the Hyve? Got, like, I might pick them up, blah blah blah. So I don't think you're going to have a problem filling that.
I'm keeping in touch with at the moment it's Riot owner. I've spoken to Arbery as well, the owner. They're handling it just fine. You know, I had to go and speak to my colleagues at UKLC to confirm whether they'd be able to keep their promotion spot, because without an org they technically can't play in that. So that was, you know, they can't be picked up by any team that's currently in the UKLC or currently in the UKL, because that would be in breach of rules. It was a whole minefield of stuff to navigate to try and find a good solution. But yeah, at the moment as it stands, they have a couple, 2 or 3 weeks or so to find an organisation.
Yeah.
If they don't manage to do that, which I don't see happening, because I know from what they've said to us that they've had so much interest. Then they would have to forfeit the spot, which would be incredibly unfortunate, but I don't see that happening. They've got a lot of time to sort it. So yeah, I think that when I got a call from Arbery being like, hey, this is what's happening, and I was like, oh dear, this could go south a bit, but we've righted the ship and it's all fine. And to be honest, it's not like we haven't dealt with teams leaving the UKL before. It happens quite a lot because of the level of it. You know, the top teams want to stay because they're close to UKLC, but we've had most teams, in fact, in the past who end up in relegations just opt not to play, because they kind of either at the end of their kind of tether with esports, or, you know, you just lose all your players because they're, well, if we can't even win this league and it's the bottom one, so people get quite disheartened by that, I think. But there's always orgs to take their place because someone new and exciting has come along and wants to take part.
It's competitive, isn't it? And it's popular. Everyone wants to get involved now. And you know, you are, although it's easy to say UKEL is lower tier, UK League of Legends, but below you do obviously have collegiate, so British Esports Championships, college level, then you have the university level, LoL and NSE, and then UKEL, but there's other cups and things like that. But, you know, you've seen teams go from the UKEL, like Resolve and London Esports, who've recently got to the final with the UKLC, and now they're about to go up into the Telia Masters, and if they get through that, they'll be in the NLC, which is the upper tier of like European regional level. So it is showing that you are a sort of a good like breeding ground for promising talent, right? It's not just a muckabout league at all.
Yeah, absolutely. There's two ways I kind of see it. You know, I'm well aware that London obviously had a great background in like CSGO and stuff, so they were very much established. I would never try and say that, you know, we made them. Obviously, we didn't. Alfie and the guys over there do a great job, and same for Ilias at Resolve. What I'm glad we did do was give them a platform to start in, making the jump to UKLC. If imagine the UKL's not here, right? And you have to just play through an open tournament, and then you're thrown straight into UKLC, which, you know, by all accounts is a far more professional league than we are. And that's kind of by design, really, because we know we want to encourage people to improve. You know, stuff that wouldn't fly in the UKLC, we tend to be more lenient on because people need chances to learn and be better. But it's great for us to see, you know, these people start with us, go all the way. You know, Resolve pretty much smashed their split with us, and same with London, really. But then they've gone on and done pretty much the same and built on that success in the UKLC. And well, hopefully we might see both of them in the NLC in a few weeks' time. But it's definitely good for us. You know, it's always nice to have those success stories and say, like, look, well, if you want to be like these teams, you start your journey with us. I think what the best part for me is people have, you know, 2 or 3 months with us to teach their staff, teach their players, get a feel for how the scene works before they step into a more professional league. And that people can crack under the pressure of stepping straight in at the deep end. And I think that's maybe something that we're able to help with.
Yeah, it's a good place to test the waters, isn't it? If you're an up-and-coming org, or if you're an org that's established in other games and you want to test the waters in, you know, at this level, I think it's a good opportunity to do that.
And it gets their brand and sponsors in front of an audience, which they wouldn't have that opportunity if we weren't around. They'd have to just wait for every 3 or 4 months for the next open tournament and then try and qualify. Which, that's something that's going to help drive monetization. Obviously we don't have the most viewers ever. We typically have like 150 to 200 at the moment, but that's better than having 0 by quite a long margin.
Nice. So yeah, it's still good. And your playoffs are coming up soon, right? UKLC's finished, but NLC and UKEL are still going on. When are your playoffs?
So our final day of the regular season is tomorrow afternoon. And then playoffs will be the following 2 weeks. So it'll be Saturday, Sunday, which, let me just check the calendar. I think it's the 13th. Yeah, 13th and 14th, and the 20th and the 21st.
Yeah. And then there's 2 that go to a UKLC relegations tournament, right?
Yeah. So it'll be the 2 finalists from our playoffs that go to that. The only exception being if one of those 2 is Demise Academy, because they are not allowed to compete in the promotion tournament because there's rules against selling off spots. So that's one. And the other part is, their main team is still in the UKLC, and each organisation can only have 1 team in each league. So the spot will just pass to the next year. In this case, if Demise come first, it will be 2nd and 3rd that go to the promotion tournament.
Yeah. Yeah, so really that boosts the chances of the other teams getting through, like Hyve. I guess why it's more important for them to look for an org, because they've got a better chance of getting through. And then they'll play in that relegations tournament, Bulldog and
Demise.
That's it. Yeah, sorry, like you said, Demise. A finished bottom of UKLC. Yeah, okay. And tell us about your league ops role with UKLC as well, then, Alex. Do that's you're helping with the management of that whole league as well. Is that is it a freelance thing with Riot or?
Yeah, it's freelance with DreamHack. Weird how I got it, to be honest. I mean, obviously I was in contact with Petter, who's the product manager for the UKLC before, just because obviously now we had that slight integration. I needed to communicate some stuff from our teams and vice versa. One day I messaged a friend because I graduated last year and was looking for work, and I was like, I just need anything at this point, even if it's a £300-400 a month just to keep me ticking over. So I was talking to a couple of orgs in the UKLC, being like, they were looking for a general manager or team manager or something. And I just mentioned to Petter what I was doing. I said, just really after a job at the moment. It was really offhand comment. I didn't mean anything by it. And he was like, how do you feel about doing league ops for the UKLC? And I was just like, okay, cool. That sounds great. Trying to contain my excitement a little bit, but kept it professional. And then we had a few chats over the following weeks. He told me what it would entail, pay, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, this is great and I don't have to stop doing what I'm doing at the UKL because there's no, going to be no conflict there. We're trying to achieve the same thing. So it's actually made the whole thing better, because if he's got an issue relating to us, maybe about a team or needs to know something about our way we work, he just asks me because, we're all working at the same company now, basically. And it's really helped to integrate the 2 leagues almost seamlessly at this point. Because I also have access to UKLC information. I don't even need to go and ask him. I just be like, well, I know how this works, so this is how it'll have to work for us. And that was one of the primary reasons he brought me on board. He said that, I think this will really help integrate the 2 leagues and build the scene into one cohesive unit.
It's a great move. I think DreamHack honestly have done a good job, and I think that the past me might have been a bit more critical. I loved ESL Prem as well, and I think LVP did a good job setting up UKLC. I was disappointed with all their promises of some broadcast space and everything. Some of their things didn't come to fruition, a multi-million-pound investment, and they disappeared back. But things happen. But I think DreamHack have done a really good job to step in. And in a weird way, when ESL lost that contract to LVP for UK League of Legends a few years ago, it's come full circle because DreamHack and ESL are owned by the same company now.
Exactly.
So it doesn't sort of matter in a way. But I think DreamHack have done a really good job. So where do you see yourself in the future, Alex? This wasn't on my list of questions, but I think doing league ops for UKLC, working closely with DreamHack, do you see yourself as a writer or something like that? Or do you think you'll always want to be part of the UKEL, or at least have a hand in it, if you pass it on to someone? What are your sort of long-term goals?
Well, on the subject of Riot, I did actually apply for a job with them
right.
about 4 or 5 months ago. Didn't get the job, as you might be able to tell, as I'm not down in Reading where they work and stuff. But to be honest, I've never had a particular career I wanted to go in ever since I was young. There was nothing that's really ever taken my fancy. I just knew as a kid I liked computers, and now as an adult, I just like anything that's analytical, allows me to make decision-making roles as well. I love making decisions, which some people shy away from that, where I'm just like, no, throw me in the deep end. Give me the hardest thing you got and I'll try and work it out. But yeah, could be at Riot. You know, I don't know, Lestriga obviously went over to Berlin to do ERL stuff. You know, I could see myself in that kind of role in the future. Maybe on the LEC or pipe dream, but that'd be amazing. Or very easily see myself as a team manager or general manager at an esports organization. On the side, I'd love to keep doing UKEL. I really would. And well, actually, that would be my dream, is to take that full time if we can get investment such that I could do that. Do that as my full-time job alongside the UKLC ops. That'd be amazing. It's a big ask because at this level there isn't that much money. You know, why invest in us when you can invest in the NLC? You know, more viewership, all that kind of stuff. It's a challenge for sure. But there's some plans in the works. We'll see where that goes.
Yeah, and you're in a position almost I was in, whatever it was, 4 or 5 years ago, where I set up my site. I'm not a salesperson. I'm not an advertising person. That's not something I
me neither.
Yeah, you know, and I've just do what I try and do best, which is content, and specifically written content, and trying to do more video as well. But then, I've had to go down the road of, that's why I've set up my consultancy. Really, that consultancy, I could do that full time if I want and have a lot more free time and probably a better work-life balance. But I use that money to fund the news site and get my bills in. So, it can be done. It's not easy. But I guess one route you can go down with sponsors is that, well, they're going to pay more with NLC. They're going to pay more with teams. I mean, it's part of our strategy at Esports News UK. You can go to ESPN have stopped esports now, but you can go to those big sites. And you can pay big money, or you can come here and support a growing site and get more bang for your buck. That's a route you can go down when targeting sponsors. Absolutely.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I've just before spring, when we were doing we had a load of talks with potential sponsors, and never quite came to fruition. But that's the first time I'd ever done that, and I've sat in meetings with some really I don't know how much I can say on this, but some pretty large companies, and this is X person, he's head of European partnerships for this massive brand, scary. And I'm I'm a kid in my bedroom running UK League of Legends tournament. I felt very much out of my depth, but I learned a lot from doing all that. And so when we do that again, probably between spring and summer, and again we'll do it after summer as well, I've got so much more experience on how to sell myself and and sell the kind of the idea as such, as well as we got some more projects going on in the background as well, which end of this month we've got a big announcement which should be quite interesting, which cool. I told you about, but I can't speak about it yet on interview.
Keep me posted. I always look forward to see developments, and one thing I wanted to highlight, you just mentioned decision making, right? There are some orgs, some people out there, and this is no fault of them or blame. Everyone's different. Some people are better decision makers than others. One of the reasons why I think you've been good at handling any potential little bits of drama and get things moving is you make decisions quickly. This is something I've only realised by talking to you now. In esports, I think general manager of an org, you have to make decisions quickly. And I've made decisions in the past when I was at British Esports. I've made decisions on things that you have to make it in the moment, and sometimes it might not be the right decision or couldn't have been the best decision, but you learn from it. But you're spot on there, Alex. This industry moves really fast, and if you're not able to make decisions fast, if you dither a bit, I've dealt with orgs, all kinds of people who dither, and it can make the problem worse. Sometimes picking the wrong decision fast is better than not making a decision at all in the same time. I was
about to say the exact same thing. A piece of advice for anyone would be, whatever you're going to do, make a decision and stick to it. And then if it goes wrong, look at it. Why did that go wrong in the end?
Yeah.
Because if you don't make if you teach yourself to not make decisions and just, as you said, dither and not really do anything, you'll never learn to make them properly in the future, and you'll keep making the same mistakes over and over again. It's absolutely, it's the one thing with esports. You just got to learn to fail. Like, that's one of the biggest things I think. Putting myself out there and just be like, well, I've made this decision. If it goes wrong, I'll deal with that. I can handle that. And I'm very much anyone on my team, if there's a mistake, I'm happy to take any of the blame and any of the hate, because I don't care. I'm just very good at dealing with that now. Over many years of esports and, well, League of Legends solo queue, flame and stuff, it really molds you into a nice person.
Inaction is a weapon of mass destruction, as faithfully said. I think it was. So you mentioned Mark. We've covered Darkspawn and what happened there. Do you think? What are your thoughts on other games, Alex? Do you see UKEL branching out in the future, or will it always be League of Legends focused? Do you think?
I think focus League of Legends, yes, just because it's what we're comfortable with. But we did actually start prior to spring, going into Valorant. I think for us, we'd probably only actually ever do Riot games, just for the sake of, and until if we ever got huge, then it's, if you like to ESL, you can probably have a Valorant tournament and an Overwatch tournament, because they have the power to do that, But for us, if we get licensed by Riot and we then want to put a Blizzard game on, it starts throwing up. It's more, we don't have the leverage to do something like that. But we are exploring Valorant. It's taken a slight backseat at the moment just because things didn't get quite finished with Riot. We were basically trying to get a license for that as well. It didn't quite get sorted prior to Spring Split starting, and then it's been manic since Spring started. Well, for me, between UKLC and UKEL.
What are your thoughts on this wasn't on my list of questions, but talking to you now, Alex, Riot said earlier this year they're going to be doing some Wild Rift, the League of Legends mobile game, esports operations, and they also hinted at, I believe, I need to fully double check, but I'm pretty sure they hinted at more esports stuff for Legends of Runeterra, their card game, and Teamfight Tactics, their sort of turn-based Dota chess style game. What are your thoughts there? Could you envisage you could do some tournaments in those games potentially?
I mean, the reality is I think everything's possible. As for would we, at the moment, the answer would be, like, if they open up something tomorrow, I don't think we'd have the capacity to do that. I mean, at the end of the day, most of our staff and people and you do any work for us, most of them are voluntary because we just can't afford to salary everyone, which could be the biggest thing I want to change. But I guess that's a slightly different topic, and I'm diving off. I only ask people to do what I would be comfortable doing if I was them, working for free. So I try and keep people's work to an absolute minimum, and so I shoulder everything else. And can I run 3 tournaments at once? Well, actually 4 if I include UKLC. The reality is probably not. So for now, I kind of stuck with keeping League of Legends as the primary thing. It is. Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, don't forget that, because this just popped into my head. Insomnia, huge event owned by Game. Epic LAN, another successful event. They both use a lot of volunteers. Now, people can argue the morals and all that, but John at Epic LAN's a great guy. He doesn't take away. He gives experience to people. I have heard some instances at Insomnia where they've used volunteers over and over again, which, it would be good to lead to a paid role or whatever. But that's an option, isn't it? It seems to be an accepted thing. If
it depends how you do it, I think. For example, the way I look at it is I will take people on board who have no experience and are just wanting to get involved in esports. And then Jamada started with us, didn't he? We didn't pay Jamada, we couldn't. But look at him now. He's got a great paid role in UKLC. As sad as it is, I want to see people move on from us and do better things, because then I know their time spent with us is good. I don't want to be like, I'm always upfront with people who come to us looking for work or whatever, and I'm like, this will be a voluntary role. This will has how many hours you'll do per week, and it's minimal. Our tournament admins will do 2 hours a week maybe 4 if they're covering
it's not
someone
too
else.
bad, is it? And they can do it for a month or 2 and then move on if they want, and then they've got.
I would not hold any animosity towards anyone who leaves, because I want people to move on and do better things, because that's what I would, if I was in their position, that's what I would want. So I think the volunteer versus paid thing, of course, I'd love to pay everyone because everyone does great work, and in a way love to focus the team a little bit more, consolidate it, but pay everyone and get more out of them, because I know it's there, because we've got a lot of great people on our staff, and I'd love to be able to get that bit extra out of them, but it's difficult at the moment, that's for sure. And I've never had a problem if someone says, I can't work today, I've got this going on, I'll do it myself. If an admin can't make it, I'll step in and do it. Okay, maybe I won't cast, because that's a bit of a push for me, but if someone's got an issue, I always feel like I'm quite open to just be like, just let me know what the issue is. I'll sort it myself if I have to, because I wouldn't ask someone to do something that I couldn't do myself. Bar some few technical things, I guess, but that's a slightly different story.
I think there's a lot of similarities between us, to be honest, Alex, because I have a small pool of volunteers at Esports News UK, and many over the years have gone on to secure like paid roles at Dixerto or wherever, all kinds of places, Pocket Gamer, Gfinity. There's a running joke that Esports News UK is an Esports Insider feeder site, which I don't mind at all, because they've got more financial backing than us, and for me, I'm just trying to pull in some finances to pay my bills and my mortgage, and then anything else is a bonus. I do pay a couple of writers. I try and pay a tip, or on a freelance basis where I can. But it's tricky, isn't it? It's really hard. But I think we've got some great volunteers in UK sports that will go on to do big things. Absolutely. Like Jamada. Yeah. You mentioned Jamada. He's in UKLC now. I think he has the potential to go on even further. I think he's got a good personality, and he's plying his trade and he's learning a lot. And the same goes for a lot of casters. I think that's another debate. But broadcast talent for me is where the UK truly shines,
absolutely. Absolutely.
Look at LEC today. Foxdrop and Excoundrel are going in there. More UK. And
we've already got Medic on there. Vedius.
It's just I love to see it. Like people like Frankie Ward, who maybe 4 years ago wasn't big in esports, and then now is like one of the biggest hosts. It's brilliant that we produce talent like this and presenters. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. What are your views on UK League, I guess, as a whole then, Alex? We haven't touched on it that much. We've mentioned the professionalism, I think, has improved a bit. What are your general views on the whole ecosystem?
I look at where we are now compared to when I first started, I guess being in around 2015, 2016. They're not even the same scene anymore in my eyes. Like, back then, there's arguments to be made that we had better players back then in the very top. And I think to an extent that's maybe true. We had better top talent, but then it just dropped and there was nothing. Whereas now we've got this whole thriving amateur scene, the collegiate leagues and like the Newell, the NSC, they're developing so many players and getting them interested. From a player talent perspective, we have a much deeper pool than I think people realise. I'm not trying to say we're as good as the likes of Germany, Spain, and we have a lot of catching up to do in that regard.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, and I'll link this back to why I started the UKL. When I made a tweet saying, this is what I want to do, what do people think? There were people that told me it was pointless, would never work, and they just said there's not enough players in the UK. Well, we had like 24 teams sign up last time for an open tournament. Every single player in that is Diamond 4+. I don't know, obviously Diamond 4 is kind of a low bar maybe for some, but they're there. The players are there. It depends who's saying. When I'm talking to a challenger player who's like, this is ridiculous. Why do we want players like that? Yeah. But everyone starts somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I think, and this was always a longer term project, I knew it wouldn't change the scene overnight. But in 2-3 years, I think we'll have a consistently better UKLC. We'll have more players in the NLC, and hopefully we find our next UK Faker or something, and Rocket starts in the UKL, comes in 8th, and he's like, no, this is it, it's my moment, and then just goes on to win LEC or something. That'd be amazing.
We've had almost, like, I remember talking to ex-Peke back at the World Championships quarterfinals at Wembley years ago. That was one of my first interviews for Esports News UK. And I said to him, what do you think about UK talent? He was, Usual answer. Well, I don't really follow UK much, but if there's a UK faker in the future, I'll sign him up. They signed Toaster for a bit, but he didn't do that well there. But I look at people like Larson now, who's been in the UKC and won things with M&M Gaming and Manolight and so on.
Yep.
Now he's in one of the best teams in the LEC, and he's played him at Worlds. Okay, he's not British, but he's come from the UK scene. Like, that nationality thing doesn't matter to me too much. It can be done. Alfari.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I mean, he's the best example, isn't he?
Yeah, he destroyed the UK scene and went straight. He pulled his team from the ESL Prem to the Challenger Series, and then to the EU LCS as it is now, LEC, and now he's in Team Liquid doing amazing things. Like he's a top. I think he's one of the best top laners in the West for me.
Absolutely is. Yeah. So outside of the likes of Wonder, he's 100%.
So it shows that there is talent here, and people have moaned, there isn't much UK talent. Well, Resolve have an all UK team. It is there. I think it's about finding it. It's like Deadly back in the day. I remember when I interviewed him, he's like, I didn't know there was esports in the UK.
Yeah,
we've got to find these people. It's not always down to Riot. They have so many millions of people playing their game. Yes, they could do a few more bits in the client, but then we've still got it's the job, isn't it, of player scouts and stuff and team managers to find the best players. So let's find them, kind of thing. Anyway, I'm waffling.
I think, just to summarise the UK bit, we have the player pool. It is there. We're starting to see this more and more. The organisations themselves are becoming more professional. It's actually an interesting point you spoke with Josh about saying the length of contracts and stuff, and this recycling of talent. I think that's something that does need to change, but I'm also very aware that without solid money and solid if you're signed for a year for £800 a month, people might do it, but the reality is there's not that much money in UK esports at the moment. So it's quite hard to get those contracts rolling and get this kind of consistency rolling. But if you look at, if Resolve stick together and play as they are, over the course of the year, that team could become really, really good, and all because they stick together. For example, we do need to try and stop this. End of every split, change your whole roster, or maybe you keep one or two and then change everything. But unfortunately, it's a lot of people will just see, there's a slightly better offer here, so I'll move on.
Yeah, 100%. And Alex, also, I'm keen to hear your thoughts as someone that's played at a good level. Like, people forget Diamond's still the top, whatever it is, 2% of, it's still higher compared to average Joes like me in silver gold. What are your views on all the item changes that Riot brought in a few months ago in the current meta? Because I haven't played the game much since all those changes came in, and League has changed quite a lot in the past 3-4 months. What are your general views on the state of the game?
This may be the worst time to ask me this question, because I think this is the first time I've not even finished my placements yet this season.
I haven't. I don't want to do it this year. I'll get sick of it.
Every season, I'll play them, and I'm sure I will at some point. But I've played enough normals, I guess, with friends. It's weird. Some of them, I had a lot of fun with them when they first came out because it was new.
Yeah.
Then went through a hate period of just like, what the hell is all this? This is ridiculous. Why has everyone got a dash now? Why is this guy going invisible? But then I think overall, I'm coming around to liking them a bit. And especially now that I'm used to them. So I see someone's got something in their inventory, and I'm like, before I'd be like, what the hell is that? What does that do? And then they just dash at you and kill you. And I'm like, well, how's they done that? But no, I think it's good. So there's an argument to be made that Riot changed so much each season that it's just impossible to keep up with. Well, yes and no, but you see the pro players seem to be fine with it. And to me, the pro scene is what really keeps the game going at this point, I think, because it's so well established. So if they're happy with it and able to deal with it, well, who am I as a player who can't even finish his placements, to judge that?
I was talking to someone earlier about this, I think the success of League and other always-on connected games like Fortnite. They're releasing new characters, new modes, new weapons, new items. Yes, changing things that might upset some players, but it's these big changes that make the game interesting to follow.
It gives it replay value as well, which some games they don't change anything and it gets really stale very quickly.
If League hadn't changed since 2009, 2010, I'm pretty damn sure people wouldn't be playing it much now. And it's because of that esports and community focus, the feedback. Oh, this is overpowered. All right, we're going to tweak this then. Right? Oh, that's better. Or whatever. You got the patch wrong, but at least you tried to do something.
Yeah.
You know, a new champion comes out and people think, oh, wow, this is really cool. New champion. You know, or the music stuff they've got.
Riot's art design team is probably one of their biggest assets, though. You know, their cinematics team as well. Every time a new one of those comes out, I'm always like straight to my PC, sit down, everything else off, watch that.
Some people might criticise me for this, but I've said that for me they're like the new Blizzard. In recent years, Activision have got a bigger stranglehold of Blizzard, and you can see what they're trying to do with microtransactions, mounts in World of Warcraft. Whereas for me, League of Legends Riot is more about what that old Blizzard was about, and that's just like good quality, magical sort of, you know, it's almost like Disney-esque levels of quality, but in video games, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
But, you know, there are things wrong with Riot as well. I won't go into all that. But for the most part, I think League is a great game at the moment. Alex, we're coming up to 50 minutes. I think this has been a really good chat. Thank you for your time. Is there anything else you want to add? Anything I might have missed? Obviously, we've got the playoffs coming up. Make sure people tune in to UKEL to watch. But anything else?
Absolutely. Just everyone keep supporting the scene. I mean, we couldn't do what we do without people tuning in every week to watch, you know, engaging with us on Twitter and stuff like that. So if there's one tip I can give to the UK scene as a closing quote or something like that, is just engage with the orgs, with the teams, other players. Be nice. Don't start drama, otherwise I have to deal with it. But just keep engaging with the scene, because the more we do, the bigger it'll grow and the more people will get involved.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree on that and second that as well. So thanks again, Alex, for your time.
No worries at all.
Everyone, thank you for watching. I appreciate your support with these. We've had good feedback for these interviews. Let me know if you'd like me to interview any more. I had about 3 people booked up in a row, and now I've got a bit of a free time now. So if there's anyone out there you think, Dom, I'd like to talk about this or that, just give me a shout and I'll see if I can slot you in. But other than that, thanks everyone for watching. Have a great weekend, and I look forward to seeing who wins the UKEL.